Derek Stingley gets paid. Laremy Tunsil speaks for the first time since the trade, plus a couple moves the Texans made. Let's make some sense of everything. Pretty active day, pretty active Monday, live in the locker room.
It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. We in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localized. Every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too. Landlocked. Got the game in the headlock. Localized every time. Can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube.
Not a quiet Monday at all. It is the locker room, number one source for Texans digital content. I am Landry Locker. You can see me here throughout the week at 10:30, also on SNL at 4. And the main conversation today has really been Derek Stingley. Derek Stingley, he got the contract. We knew it was going to be a big one. He basically, I don't want to say whether or not he reset the market, but Derek Stingley gets paid 3 years, $90 million. And I think this one is symbolic in a number of ways. I think it symbolizes the economic side of the Laremy Tunsil trade, where this was what you had to do. We've been talking about that for a while in here. And I think also the DeMeco Ryans culture was on display. And I know there's been kind of a real big attempt by Tunsil and others to dismiss that side of things. I don't blame them for that. But I do think it was at least kind of on display today when Derek Stingley signed his deal. And let me explain. It is the locker room, number one source for Texans digital content. Appreciate everyone for rolling through, including Ryan, who says, I listen to Landry as I fall asleep. That's the nicest compliment you can give someone who does a 10:30 p.m. show. That is a great thing. But I want to explain this culture thing. And the Derek Stingley thing was interesting because we talked to Derek Stingley at the end of the season, asked him about wanting to be here and all that type of stuff. And another topic that came up was Derek Stingley talking about why he was going to still hang around here, even whether he had a contract or not. And I think that just kind of showed where Derek Stingley is. Here was what it looked like when we talked to Derek Stingley, and this was pre-contract, but this was the first time that he said, "Yeah, I want to be here forever."
I mean, it could have been better. A lot more plays we made, missed out on. We, as a team, as defense, come back, got to do it.
What has to happen this offseason for you guys to get over that hump?
I mean, really, what Joe was saying after the game, Joe Mixon, just saying, whatever you did last year, just, up the ante a little bit. So just do a little bit more, see how far they take us.
How do you feel about the whole secondary, especially how some of the young guys developed this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they gonna play a long time in the league. They gonna make a lot of plays. They gonna do the right thing always. Like, they since they came in, they won, like making plays on the field or just being on time. Like just doing all the small stuff. So I mean, I think they the ones that's really gonna take us wherever we can get.
Does it excite you to know you play with these guys for years after what they just did as rookies?
Yeah. I mean, anytime that's what all my teammates. Like you know, and you can trust them. Like you can trust all your teammates. So you just make a better plan out there.
You're eligible for the extension now. Is this where you want to be long term?
Yeah, I want to be here forever.
Is that something you want to get done in the offseason?
I mean, I'm gonna let whoever handle that.
Dave Mulligetta, he handled it.
Here working out, just taking care of me.
How do you elevate individually your game from what we saw this year?
I mean, there's always room to grow. Like that's what anything in life. Like if you think you're good at something, you can figure out what you can be better at. Like everything, really. So
was the health? Was there anything you did to put more into that, or is that sometimes just kind of a luck thing, playing the full season?
You said luck?
Is there something that you did to get your body more prepared, or is it sometimes just like bad luck when the injuries have happened in the previous seasons?
Nah, I mean, when it comes to injuries, that could just happen. Like, it's football, so like you can get hurt. But nah, I mean, pretty much I've been here every off season, working out with Mike and the whole strength staff every day. Been working with my pops. Like, I ain't really. I've done what I've always done. Like, it's not like I just did some magic trick and made it here. So yeah.
And I think that's interesting because the one thing I wondered about the Stingley negotiation was, I mean, is the injury going to factor in some way, shape, or form? And someone brought up a good point earlier today on SNL with myself and Cody Stoots, which you should subscribe to on all podcast platforms as well as right here on YouTube, 4:00 Monday through Friday. Maybe the 3 years is kind of that compromise. Maybe going 3 years instead of 4 or whatever. Maybe that's the compromise with the injuries. On the surface, though, it looks like it just didn't even factor in. It looks like the 1 year out of whatever it was, 4 or 5, where he was available for the overwhelming majority of the games, it feels like that kind of factored in or didn't factor in. So they made Derek Stingley one of the highest paid corners in the highest paid corner in the game. And now you wonder, what happens with Sauce Gardner and what goes on. Yeah, he thought I was calling him lucky. I had to emphasize. He understood, though. But yeah, I mean, sometimes I think it is bad luck when you get hurt. At first, he did think that. He thought I said luck. But yeah, he knew what I meant after that. But yeah, you hear the word luck. Athletes damn sure don't want to hear the word luck. But sometimes the unlucky injuries. But I do like how Derek Stingley, a lot of people say, Derek Stingley kind of a quiet guy. Derek Stingley kind of a guy doesn't really like speaking. I agree with that. But if you ask him something worthwhile, he's going to answer the question. And that's what he's going to do there. So we'll keep talking about this Derek Stingley thing. But we also heard, and I did a reaction to, we heard Laremy Tunsil speak today. And I thought it was really, really interesting what Laremy Tunsil had to say. The most excited he got, I did think was funny, was when he said he's got to be an all-pro. He's got to get that all-pro nod. That was when he clapped his hands, the one time that he clapped his hands. But other than that, talked about wanting to be a mentor, wanting to win the Lombardi, how good Jaden Daniels was. Said he doesn't think that he says the Texans' decision came down to business, nothing personal, which that can mean a number of things. Of course, it's business. I don't think that dismisses any possibility of the cultural side of things on top of the economic things. But yeah, he's just doing his thing. It was probably his longest media availability of the year. So we'll see how it goes in Washington with Laremy Tunsil. But he definitely, it seems like he wants to get a new contract. I don't know whether that's going to happen or not. But he spoke and I listened. With the AG 1913 swarm in the soup.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Says with the 17.6 million FT, is it possible they view a new deal 4-year 107, 26.9 per, which is less than the 2 mil in than the Horn deal? I don't know if that gets factored in or not. I would think it doesn't, but he is signed through 2029. As far as the specific cap, where it goes and all that, Texans cap is your source for that. So I don't really have much on that. I do think this was interesting, and I think this is kind of the culture thing where you hear Derek Stingley say he's working out at the facility no matter what. And one of the guys that he credits for creating that mindset for him was Nico Collins. Kind of seems contagious. Kind of feels like iron sharpens iron from DeMeco Ryans. That feels iron versus iron sharpens iron. And then you hear where he was when he found out the news. Jonathan Alexander writes, where was Derek Stingley this morning when the news dropped that his contract got extended, making him the highest paid cornerback in NFL history? He was in the weight room at the Texans facility working out with some of his teammates. Close quote. This might not be connected. And I know that Tunsil's really trying to make it clear that, you know, it was business. It could be business. I mean, business can work a number of ways. But make no mistake about it. They want more Derek Stingley type stuff where the guy just lives, breathes, eats football. And you can kind of see the culture with him piggybacking off of Nico more so than my man didn't score pickup game philosophy that we've seen with Laremy Tunsil. The multiple things can be true when it comes to that. But as far as it being about business, I don't think they personally dislike Laremy Tunsil. There might be a personal way that they want stuff to go, but the business factors in. And the iron sharpening iron was on display with Derek Stingley. You saw it. So that's something that I think you got to that's something I think you got to at least like make note of. And I actually got the ultimate visual display of what iron sharpening iron is on the offensive line. And it's the name was brought up during Laremy Tunsil's media availability today by the Washington media because they're familiar with him. And I've always said Laremy Tunsil is a good left tackle, but he's the polar opposite of Trent Williams. Trent Williams is an absolute mauler in the run game. Absolute mauler in the run game. And Trent Williams has never been a guy who's going to say, I had a perfect PFF grade and these other guys aren't good. He's not going to settle for it. And I think if you look at Laken Tomlinson, I think it's a prime example of kind of how we're seeing that. And DeMeco was there and kind of witnessed that. So DeMeco's seen what a Trent Williams does versus what a Laremy Tunsil does. And I've talked about the fascination of Laken Tomlinson, where every city he's played in basically says he sucks. Yet he started every game since 2017. Hasn't missed games. He's played, and a big reason why he got the contract he did, a big reason why the Jets hate him is because he got paid as much as he did for the deep playoff run and the Pro Bowl appearance. But a lot of people say, well, you know, the only reason he made a Pro Bowl is because of Trent Williams. That may be true. But I pulled up a video, and shout out to Sideline Sarah, because I thought that Sideline Sarah, I think she does a really good job of aggregating. She does like the type of stuff that I like to do, where you dig up stuff as soon as someone comes in and it goes relevant. But I think Sideline Sarah does an excellent job of like localizing when finding relevant things. So a strong recommendation, Sideline Sarah on Twitter. Very good resource. No effery really. It's just solid stuff. But she put up a video of Trent Williams and Laken Tomlinson. And this is how a all-pro left tackle, this is iron sharpening iron, to be honest with you. Like, I know I'm saying this a lot. I'm saying it because it matters now that Tunsil's not here. If you ever heard me making fun of iron sharpens iron, and I said it multiple times, I couldn't take it as serious when Tunsil was here. And even the defenders are saying, well, it's not his responsibility. Like, the defenders are immediate. They don't say Kenyon Green got better. They don't say Shaq Mason got better. They don't say Titus Howard thrived. They just say it's not his job. Even the defenders. Even he would say that. That's the thing. That's the thing I like about Laremy Tunsil. I want to make this very clear. The thing about Laremy Tunsil is he's a business me first guy. He has the talent to do it. He is thriving during his playing career. Post-career, he's going to thrive even more. But he's not one of these sociopaths who does that and then all of a sudden acts like there's some sort of personal beef when the other side makes a business decision. He's gotten the best of the Texans multiple times. He's taken them to the woodshed multiple times. He's been able to do whatever the hell he wants. He's been able to individually thrive when the players around him are terrible. And he's fine with that. He's going to be more healthy. He's probably going to become the 3-time highest paid offensive lineman, and his talent allows him to do that. But he also doesn't take it personal and go sociopathic, delusional, and get mad when there's another business side of things. But is he an iron sharpens iron swarm guy? The answer is hell no. Hell no. And if you want to see what that looks like, this is how you make someone a Pro Bowler in Laken Tomlinson. Here is Trent Williams and Laken Tomlinson. This was from the 49ers, and Sideline Sarah put this up. Just look at this mentorship, and this is how Trent Williams handles his teammates and gets the most of them and gets them paid. And I'm sure that some of the lessons from Trent Williams probably helped Laken Tomlinson start damn near every game for X amount of years. I'm pretty sure those lessons go travel with them. But here it is right here.
Hold on. No. Hey, let's run this. Run this shit, man. You can run this. All right? First play of the game. Let's go. Let's show him. Let's go. Let's eat. Let's eat. They're going 93 yards right here. It's going to hurt. Oh, that hurt. That hurt. Fuck y'all, man. That hurt. He hurt. They talking about. They talking about. Let's go, man.
That's just what it looks like right there. That's what iron sharpening iron is. That's what it looks like. That's Trent Williams. That's not Laremy Tunsil. And they got to figure some stuff out there. So we'll see we'll see how that whole thing looks. But that's basically what it looks like, and it's been that's what it looks like, and that's what it's been with him. On the soup, just asking, is there a way CJ could have his contract like Mahomes so the team can still build around him? He should want that, in my opinion. I don't know. I mean, it's easy to say about Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady doing that, but they have off-field ventures, and they have dynasties. Josh Allen kind of did it as well, but I don't know. It's easy. It's easy for us to say. I think Josh Allen said, "What's another $5 million when you get to this point?" I don't know that everyone functions like that. But, when you start using Mahomes and Brady as examples, it's not like they just decided to take less money and then all of a sudden that happened. They'd already established dynasties. So they've had that taste of winning. I don't anticipate that happening with CJ Stroud, but who knows? Who knows? You never know. You never know there, but wouldn't bet on it. AG1913. Appreciate you, my friend. With the 17.6 mil, you already asked this one, and we talked about that. Yeah, I don't know. I left that one up. $10 years, $60 million a year for CJ. That's a lot. That's a lot. Trent Williams is 36 years old right now, my friend. I don't know that you want to trade for Trent Williams at the moment. He's still pretty damn good. But I don't know that you want to trade for him at that point. He's in his 16th season. I think he's going on 17. So don't need that. Here's the updated list, and the Texans made a couple moves today. Here's the updated list of free agents that the Texans have signed. And they added a fullback in Jalen Johnson. I don't know whether this guy makes the team or not. I don't even know how often they're going to use a fullback. Are they going San Francisco? Are they going Rams? Are they going Patriots? Oh, this guy played for the Patriots. I wouldn't make too much of this. I wouldn't have like some overwhelming sweeping takeaway about what Nick Caley's going to do based on them signing Jalen Johnson at fullback. But it definitely makes you wonder. Like, I don't know if British Brooks is even a factor in camp next year, but the Jalen Johnson, he is familiar with Nick Caley. They also added another cornerback. They added Ronald Darby. Ronald Darby will be competing for a roster spot, I guess. 1 year, $2.5 million. Former Jag. Florida State back in the day. This is just depth behind Kamari Lassiter. He's in the caliber of Jeff Okudah and Henderson. I think Okudah got $5 million last year. Henderson was around this range. It's as far as just like an eye test. It is nice to see that this guy's going to be competing the third spot at corner instead of the starting corner spot. Because the Okudah thing was interesting in Henderson. And really, we didn't even really get like a huge dose of that competition. That was kind of a number 3 corner as well. And you had Kamari Lassiter at the other starting corner. The only thing about it, though, that I think is interesting is now you have a good feel of what Kamari Lassiter is about and what he provides on Sundays. So you legitimately think they're competing for the third spot. Last year is kind of like unknown. It was like, oh, okay, well, they're putting him there. They like him. What's he going to do? Is he capable? And then he ended up doing his thing. So that was there. It's a little harsh. My grandma is better than Okudah. Anyone is better than Okudah. Darby better than Okudah. Okudah not a very popular guy. And let's be honest, he was terrible. He was terrible, and you immediately realized why he'd been on so many teams. Ronald Darby, it seems like every year you hear about Ronald Darby potentially going to a squad, and you've talked about him in like multiple ways. So that's where we're at with the signings. Third corner competition and fullback. Do both of these guys make the team? Do either of these guys make the team? I think it's up in the air. We'll see. So nothing major. But if Darby can just be serviceable, that's really all you want from your third corner. And as far as the nickel spot, your backup corners aren't really, unless there's like an emergency situation like last year where eventually you had to figure something out with both Petrie and Jimmy going down. I don't think your corner is it's not like you're just looking for a slot guy. You got slot guys, so you can figure that type of stuff out. So this just third corner competition and really nothing more, nothing less. So I said that I've come out of retirement on the offensive line coach business. I kind of exited that after Bill O'Brien because all of them suck. I feel like a lot of times they probably get too much blame, although I don't know about this Chris Strausser fella. But I saw Rob Ninkovich the other day, and this is the second person from New England in the last 14 days I've heard sing the praises of Cole Popovich. This was on Rob Ninkovich's show. And this is also from Sideline Sarah. She's doing her thing. It's from Dan and Nico. And they're singing the praises of the new offensive line coach for the Texans once again. Here we go. Let's hear Rob Ninkovich, the former Patriot, shout out the new Texans O-line coach, Mr. Popovich. Great. So there you go. And that's the same thing that Alex Barth, who's like my nerd reference out there in New England, works at Sports Hub 98.5, which is the top sports station in the country. He's kind of their nerdy guy. He sings the praises of Popovich. Ninkovich talks about Popovich, and it seems like everybody in New England just says this guy's awesome. I don't know that he was like the understudy of Dante the Goat, but it seems like he was pretty hands-on with him. Pause. But he was a hands-on assistant, and he ended up kind of having to go away for a while, and he comes back. And you hear a lot of good things about him. I mean, it just seems like there's a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and say that Ninkovich might have a little something there. The subtitles were there if you couldn't hear it. He just basically said they had a good coach. He wouldn't get the shot, and that was it. They had a great offensive line coach. Nobody talks about it. And the radio doesn't talk about it. And their offensive line, I mean, he's basically the basis of what Ninkovich is saying, if you couldn't hear it, was their offensive line sucks. They have a crappy offensive line coach. They have crappy offensive linemen. And nobody talks about the fact that the plummeting of the offensive line can be connected to when he left. That's pretty much what they say in New England. So I'm kind of in on this. I'm kind of in on this Popovich fella. We'll see how that goes with good old Popovich. If you want to listen, go check it out at Sideline Sarah. It's a good excuse for you to go to Sideline Sarah's Twitter. Go check that out. You'll be able to hear it. It'll be there. I don't know why it didn't play. Maybe there's like some more conspiracy theories. Italo says, "What's up? It feels good when you see a genuinely good and hardworking kid get paid. It really motivates you to continue the difficult road because effort at some point pays off. Yeah, I guess Derek Stingley staying healthy is like a motivational thing. I don't know that this is like a motivational. Derek Stingley is a boy wonder. He is an absolute boy wonder, is what is what he is. He's a boy wonder. I mean, he was that dude in Baton Rouge. I think staying healthy has been the only question that has come with Derek Stingley, and he's been able to figure it out. Sam says I need to put sideline Sarah on the payroll. She just does a good job aggregating. I'll just give her credit for the videos. I see some people will take videos that they never would have even seen and they play them. And it's like, dude, you clearly saw either me on the radio, sideline Sarah, Texans commenter. You clearly saw that video because someone dug it up randomly. You didn't just think of that yourself. I mean, that's wild. Jerome Kick showing his ball knowing skills and getting the chat mad. Jerome just comes in here just to get attention from the people and make them mad and talk about me sniffling. He says Kamari was getting cooked a lot. I thank God for the overthrows. BJT was killing him and Sting. People got mad, and then he said, I'm not saying he didn't ball, but he got beat a lot. The QB just overthrew the wide receivers. Yeah, there were a couple times that happened. That happened with Stingley, and that happened with him. But yeah, I would say that Kamari Lassiter did a pretty good job last year for a rookie corner. I expect rookie corners to get cooked. I expect rookie offensive linemen to kind of get roughed up a little bit too. It's kind of inevitable. I don't know if we can expect rookie quarterbacks to struggle anymore with some of the stuff we saw. But yeah, I would say Kamari Lassiter's fine. Corners get cooked. So yeah, I know there was an overthrow of Mitchell with Richardson. I know what he's talking about. He's talking about the Lawrence missed Brian Thomas Jr. at the game in Houston. And then on the opposite end, there was an AR-15. So yeah, there were moments. The Keon Coleman, he kept Keon Coleman in check, and he had the one touchdown. But if you're not pleased with Kamari Lassiter, I don't know what you're expecting. Did Kamari make a habit of getting cooked? No, I don't think so. I've said this multiple times. I kind of want to dive into this as the week goes on, but I wonder what the mindsets are heading into CJ's third year in 2025 versus heading into Deshaun's third year in 2019, where both times you were in the 20s and both times it felt like you might need a left tackle. And it's kind of no man's land. In 19, you were hoping for Andre Dillard to fall. Ended up not being great. And then you ended up getting Titus Howard. And then you ended up playing him on the right side because you made the Tunsil trade. I don't know what the Texans' plan is going to be. It is interesting, the stuff that unfolded after the draft, because they really tried to convince themselves, and by they, I mean King Bill. He really tried to convince himself that Matt Kalil could somehow still be a left tackle in the NFL. That was a joke. And he embarrassed himself. That was, I think he embarrassed himself so badly with Matt Kalil and wasted so much time that I think that was one of the factors with the Tunsil trade. I think he's so combatively, and he was a jackass about it, but I think O'Brien so combatively defended Kalil that once it was time for the season to start and it was obvious this guy was washed up, I think Bill O'Brien just kind of just said, all right, I got to make every trade. And this is from back in the day, and there's actually a funny story about this. This was the Kalil Bill O'Brien exchange. I think it was with Matthew Jarecki, who was briefly the night guy at Sports Radio 610. But he's just asking the right question, and watch how pissy B.O.B. gets.
Is he hurt? Yeah. I don't have to release an injury report until the season starts. And every time I come up here, I get asked about 50 questions about injuries. So you'll get an injury report when the season starts. Right now, I'll tell you that he's out of practice per the head coach's discretion. How's that for an answer? Good?
You expect him to start for you week one?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
And I expect him to start for me week 1. What an awkward exchange. And this was Bill O'Brien. These are other examples. This is Bill O'Brien talking about Matt Kalil's camp. I'm telling you right now. And I think the whole Matt Kalil experience has opened my eyes to where I can spot a washed out offensive lineman the second he trots out the first time at camp. I think this has been the bet. As much as it was frustrating and as much as it was annoying, being front and center at this training camp, this Matt Kalil training camp, was one of the best educations towards telling if an offensive lineman is washed up. It worked with Justin Britt. It worked with Shaq Mason this year. I think I've been educated by BOB. And it was the most ass ugly camp that I've ever seen. It was sad, honestly. It wasn't pitiful. It was sad. It was like, why are you putting this guy out there? Why are you doing this to this guy? You have respect for him. Get him off the football field. What kind of friend are you? And this is what O'Brien would say after it was so obvious how bad it was.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a really good camp. It's hard to judge in a practice setting. Sometimes, you can't hit the quarterback. You know what I mean? So quarterback maybe holding the ball sometimes, try to get guys open. So, I think he's had a very consistent camp. He's a really good guy to coach, very smart player, good guy in the room. He's got everything you're looking for. Yeah, I mean,
quarterback might be holding the ball too long, and that's why he looks bad. Then, and this is great. This is so great that this is being dug up. Then Roderick Johnson randomly starts a game. And this is what Bill O'Brien has to say about it. Insulting our intelligence even more.
Yeah, Matt, day off for Matt. And Rod did good. Rod's had a good camp. Rod, he jumped offside one time. We got to fix that. But he's had a good camp. He's a strong player, great guy. He's worked hard. He's really earned the right to get those reps.
He's earned the right because Matt Kalil was awful. He was washed up. The Bill O'Brien, Matt Kalil. That was a crazy time. And there's another one. Here's another Bill O'Brien. Gosh, this is the gift that keeps on giving. Here's another one. Bill O'Brien, this is Matt Kalil. This one's from Wexy.
Along those same lines, you were talking about Matt earlier, managing things from how he came in during the Matt Kalil, the offseason and into camp. Is this something you anticipated with managing his work?
Yeah, exactly.
Managing his work.
He's been a great teammate. He's done a really good job of learning the offense. When he's been in there, he's played very well. We've seen a lot of good things from him when he's played in practice. And we had a plan for him coming in to manage his reps, to get him ready for the season, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to stick to that. He came off of a knee injury last year.
Manage his reps.
He was signed in free agency, and he came off of a knee injury from his year in Carolina. And we're just trying to do a good job of managing him the best we can to get him ready for the season.
As things have played out, have more of these guys even gotten more first team reps or reps at different spots than you would have anticipated because of all these things?
No, that was anticipated. You know what I mean? That's what I was saying to Mark here, is that it was anticipated. These are look, certain things come up during the training camp that weren't anticipated, but there are several players that we had a mapped out plan for relative to practices and games and all those things. So.
Oh my gosh. The Matt Kalil summer. And this was after they drafted Titus Howard. And we're bringing this up because it's kind of similar where you feel like you need a left tackle. Now, they went with Matt Kalil, and then they ended up trading for Tunsil. What could that look like this year? Could they end up drafting one? Do they think that Titus Howard and Blake Fisher can be tackles? I don't know. But I think it's safe to say there are similarities. CJ Stroud heading into year 3. Deshaun Watson heading into year 3. You feel like you need a left tackle. You're coming off seasons in which you made the playoffs. CJ won a playoff game. Texans got their ass whooped by the Colts in Watson year 2. But I think it's safe to say there will not be a Matt Kalil remix, and they will not be making a Laremy Tunsil trade. What will they do? Don't know. But heading into the draft, a lot of similarities there. It is the locker room number one source for Texans digital content. Who's worse, B.O.B. or Slowick?
Damn it, Bobby.
Are you serious? Is that a real question? Bobby can get grilled. You can question Bobby. He'll explain it. And a lot of times he'll explain it to where he actually looks stupid because he's actually telling you what he was thinking when he made a stupid decision. Bobby's really honest about stuff like that. He defends players, but he doesn't do it in a crazy way. But B.O.B. when he's wrong, he gets pissed off, he screams, he yells. He gets really, really combative. He got that kid fired pretty much, that Matthew Jarecki kid, which is something that doesn't really get talked about because he complained to PR. And then the boss at the time at 6'10" was such a jock sniffer that he didn't even defend the kid when the kid needed to be defended. And I think McClain, to the credit, John McClain actually got really pissed off. And this is just stuff about John McClain that you don't know. But after that kid just asked the question if Matt Kalil was hurt because he wasn't playing, and Bill O'Brien kind of punked him, and the kid had been in town for like a month, but actually had some journalistic integrity and was asking the right question. The PR person actually screamed at the kid, in front of everyone, dressed him down, for just asking the right question. His own boss at 6'10" didn't even have his back on that. And he was a knucklehead. Jarecki's a knucklehead. But in that instance, you got to defend your guys in that situation. There's been a number of times where I've been defended because I'm saying whatever I'm saying. Y'all know how it was when I was on the air. I get defended. And that's what you're supposed to do with your guys. But that guy didn't get defended. And McClain actually went up to the PR lady and said, that's not right. You shouldn't yell at him. That was the right question to ask. And that's just I know we hear John McClain on the air and some people get kind of and I know sometimes John can not want to be interested. And he's the guy that's a lot of times whenever the Texans have sucked, he's the one that drops the hammer. And maybe you just got tired of him or whatever. And the Oilers stuff probably gets old. But that's the type of John McClain story that no one really talks about, is that a guy who has that much tenure goes out of his way in front of everyone. A lot of people just keep their eyes on their own paper and mind their own business in that situation. Some new punk ass kid in town, you're not defending him. John McClain sticks his chest out for people like that. And that's just kind of why that's just kind of one of those John McClain things that you don't really hear about, that just kind of speaks to kind of the character and the kind of guy that John McClain is. But man, so we had the Matt Kalil situation, and then we had the Tunsil trade. And I do wonder, so maybe not a Tunsil trade, but if we assume that there's going to be some young left tackles getting drafted, whether it's Campbell, whether it's Banks or something like that, if we do assume that there's going to be some young left tackles drafted, you do got to wonder, is there going to be a secondary market where you can find someone that's maybe a little bit more disposable? And I say all that because we thought that, Titus Howard would perhaps be the future left tackle, and maybe that's how they would roll. They tried to roll two different ways before they figured it out. And I guess you can say they got it right with Tunsil, although I think that's one of the worst trades I've ever seen. To give up 2 1s and a 2. I thought that was asinine. And then take back Kenny Stills, who they were going to release. And some would say that's where the 2 was sprinkled in because B.O.B. was handing out third-rounders like candy. Trade a third-rounder for Gary and Conley. Trade a third-rounder for Duke Johnson. I mean, he was trading third-rounders like candy. But that was what they ended up doing. It wasn't necessarily the draft. They had other things. And I also think if we want to expand on the connection between 2025 and 2019, I also think that the Texans could be on the same tier, but you got to have a coach who doesn't pee his pants and get nervous when he gets the opportunity to make some sort of magical run. And that's what happened with Bill O'Brien. That's what happened. I know we talk about 24-0, and we talk about, well, you know, it just kind of got away from the Texans and the Chiefs did the Chiefs. Nah, Bill O'Brien got nervous. He had mom spaghetti all over his pullover. He choked. If you had one shot, one moment to capture the moment, would you capture it or would you just choke? That he choked. They were up 21-0. It was 4th and 1. He said he didn't have a play on 4th and 1. How do you not have a 4th and 1 play, brother? Earlier that year, they were in Kansas City. They went for it on 4th and 2 to ice the ball game. And he had a play. What was the difference? Pressure. Sometimes you can get in that regular season flow. You can go win your division titles. You can win your 10. But when you got Fat Andy on the other sidelines, best quarterback in the game, you score on the opening drive for the first time with Deshaun Watson that season. Couple fumbles here and there. Block punt. You got a chance to go up 4 possessions, and you didn't have a play. And then you decided to fake a punt with a guy with a sprained shoulder. The Texans can put themselves in that position, much like they did that year. Year 3 of Watson, year 3 of Stroud. I don't think DeMeco Ryans is going to wet his pants. Now, could the OC? Who knows? We don't know what Nick Caley's going to be like. But it's kind of similar because you're one of those teams that's second tier. Seems like you got your division on lock. You got a quarterback people feel good about. I think this team has a superpower more so than that one, and that they have most likely an elite defense. But you got to have a coach who doesn't wet his pants. And I think the last time the Texans were in this situation, I think the coach wet his pants a number of ways. All throughout training camp, he walked out basically with his bare ass showing with the Matt Kalil situation. And then whenever they got to the Chiefs, he wet his pants. And he also wet his pants with the Tunsil move. 2 1s and a 2. He choked. And it wasn't like a fourth quarter thing. By the time that game was over, kind of out of sight, out of mind. Not locally. We hammered the hell out of that. But that was an epic choke. Had that happened at the end of the game, we would be it would get a lot more attention than it did. But that's just kind of where they are now. And that's the legend of 2019 being 2025. What will they do? Who knows? I don't think DeMeco's going D in the draft, right? He's not going D defense. There's no chance, right? That ain't happening, right? 0 chance, right? Surely not, right? Nah, he wouldn't do that. He's going O. If DeMeco drafts defense in this draft, it'll for sure make the Texans the best defense in the league. They might be that anyways, my friend. They got to get some sort of offense. And man, worry doesn't make sense anymore. I do think the CJ Gardner-Johnson makes that less likely. I'm intrigued to see if he falls there. He very well might. I don't think that would go well with the Gardner-Johnson thing. Kaylee better speak up in that room. Let's see what Nick Kaylee's got. Nick gonna figure out a way to get Jack Betch and skateboard on the team. I know what you're saying there.
Race car.
You're saying Nick likes the honky receivers. We have 2 picks in round 2 next year. That's correct. They do. We still don't have a wide receiver 2. Don't believe in Christian Kirk. Fair. His production a few years ago would have made him a good WR2, but yeah, I think that's a fair thing to say. Very fair way to say, fair thing to say. We'll just have to see. There's a lot more question marks about that offense. Even the guys that they brought in, like you look at like the defense, like I feel good about most of the guys that they brought in on defense as far as like clear roles for being effective. I think Darrell Taylor will be fine. Derek Barnett, good. Rankins and Edwards, they can do what you want. And then CJ Gardner-Johnson, feel good about that. Offense, Laken Tomlinson, one of the worst ranked guards in the league last year. Ed Ingram, one of the worst ranked guards in the league last year. Dare Ogunbowale. Interesting how long he's lasted at the RB position. Jacob Johnson, don't even know if they're going to use him. Christian Kirk, the injury stuff. Berrios, how much of an impact is that? Is that how much of an upgrade over Mechie is that? Watson, who knows? So there's questions about the guys on offense. I think healthy skepticism is fair when it comes to the offense. Golden's a popular guy. A lot of people talking about Golden. Wide receiver room's better. That says more to what the wide receiver room was as opposed to where they're at. St. Louis Rebel taking it a step further with the offense. We have one of the worst offenses in the league right now. We need a wide receiver 2 desperately. I mean, you probably have one of the worst O-lines. You still have one of the bottom half, for sure, top to bottom receiver room. Tight end position stinks, just based on production. You can see improvement from Stover and Jordan, but just based on what we've seen recently, the tight end room stinks. Joe Mixon's awesome, and Nico's awesome. So, yeah. On paper, yes. That's all we have to judge because we don't know the scheme. If you had a coach that you trusted could magnify it, then yes. But yeah, on paper, you're right. It's not a good offense. A lot of questions about it. Hopefully that's a focus. That should be their goal. And if I were Nick Caserio, I'd walk into that scouting room. I'd have my vest on. I'd walk in and I'd say, guys, last year in the draft, we set out to revive the secondary. There were a lot of questions about our secondary. we had one guy who was a dog and a complete baller. And here we are sitting right now. We feel we got 4 dogs in the secondary. One of them we added this offseason, but we feel like we got 4 dogs in the secondary. And we completely revamped that side of the rock on these days. This time we actually have a first-round pick. We didn't have one last time. And our goal for this draft should be to have the same impact on offense, specifically, vertically, playmaking-wise, and weapons for CJ and protecting CJ. Our goal should be to have that same impact on the offense. If they can do that, a lot will change. Because we go back to what we were talking about when the Texans were heading into the last draft, when we were talking about their defense. And the reality is there's a lot of variables, there's a lot of unpredictable things that can happen. A lot of people thought the O-line was going to be good last year. It sucked. A lot of people thought Dalton Schultz would be solid. He was awful. We knew what Joe Mixon can do. We thought this would be one of the best wide receiver cores in the league. It wasn't, and then everybody got hurt. And on defense, we didn't know what was going to happen. We knew Danielle Hunter was here. You felt good about that. But the secondary had no idea. That's what they need to do in this draft. They need to figure that out. But it needs to be an offensive revival, an offensive just revamp. What they need to do. Receivers, skill position guys, all over. Weapons, different elements of the offense. Give Nick Caley some. Talked about how sought after he was and all this. You like it, hybrid. Give him something to work with. See what he's got. It's been a long time since the Texans have really had an assistant. I know Bobby got some interviews last year, but it's been a long time since the Texans have had an assistant where you're like, damn, this guy might be a head coach. When's the last time that even happened? Vrabel, when he was a position coach and the Titans kind of saw through that? I mean, that was it, right? That was already kind of set up. Like you had the urban, like we knew Vrabel was going to get some sort of shot. When's the last time they just had the hottest, like, young assistants? Been a while. Shanahan was here and he was kind of like ahead of time, and he had a lot of jobs after that. They need an OC that's got substance and can figure it out. Not the 1 year wonder.
Damn it, Bobby.
And then kind of falls off type of thing. We'll see what they do. I'm intrigued. But much like 2019, again, 2025, 2019, we'll see what they think at that O-line. There's going to be some sort of media availability, I've heard, this week. I'm thinking perhaps Wednesday. I haven't gotten the email yet. I think it may come through tomorrow. So I don't know if we're going to hear from Nick, Gardner Johnson, DeMeco. I don't know what the plan is, but I think we're actually going to get some media availability. Maybe Christian Kirk. Who knows? It's nice to have a Kirko that's not Christian Kirksey. I will say that. The way that they use, Kirko, leader, Kirko. Christian Kirk. Say what you want about Christian Kirk. At least it's not a Christian Kirksey type of vibe. Shout out to Christian Kirksey, but that was just kind of the corny time. See what happens. Appreciate everyone for coming through. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like. Be sure to ride along. Be sure to always remember when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Tomorrow on SNL, Cody Stoots is going to go in depth. We're going to revisit. We're going to talk about the the topics of the day, but we're also going to revisit that 2022 NFL draft in which they got the rich man, Derek Stingley, and the traded man, Kenyon Green. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Have a good night. Always remember when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Appreciate y'all for rolling through.
Digital on YouTube. We got taste for days. Opinions to give. We got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up. We number one. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localized. Every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too.